welcome to Profit First Beyond the Book, a podcast that takes you beyond the book with Profit First, brought to you by Tim, Duncan and the rest of the Profit First Professionals UK and Ireland team. Hello and welcome to another episode of Profit First Beyond the Book. And with me today, I have one of our Profit First guides, a long-standing Profit First professional, Kerry Postel. So Kerry, please introduce yourself to everybody.
Hey Tim, well thanks for having me. So yeah, my name's Kerry and I own Abacus Business Solutions. We've been in business since January of 2013. My business is located in Florida because that's where I lived for 19 years. I've been back in the UK now for 2 years, running the business remotely and now part of the Profit First UK team as well.
Amazing. Thanks, Karen. It's great. And thank you for joining me today. It's great to be able to have these conversations about Profit First and to help people understand there's so much more to Profit First than what you can just get from the book. Not that the book isn't a great tool, obviously, to start you off, but there's so much further we can take people, we feel. And so Kerry, so you are British, just to clarify that. You were born in Britain, yeah?
Yep.
And then you moved out to Florida. And can you tell me, because I love this bit, can you tell me how you came to join Profit First Professionals?
Absolutely. So I knew Billy Ann, who is part of runs the home base in the US. And so I'd known her for a couple of years beforehand. And I think it was in September 2015, I got a call from Mike McAllowitz himself. I can picture myself now sitting in my office. He introduced himself. I can't even tell you now if I knew about the book before or not. It was just one of those things. Had this great conversation, told me about this book, told me about the concept of it, and that they were having a conference up in New Jersey, I think like 2 or 3 weeks later. And he'd got my information because of my connection with Billy Ann. She had already joined Profit First Professionals, and she and I were connected on LinkedIn. And so I think that's how he'd reached out to me. And so, yeah, so 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm on a plane up to New Jersey. I think it was my very first, business conference since I'd started my business. And yeah, there's me flying up solo, finding a hotel, sharing a room with someone I'd never met before, meeting a group of people I'd never heard of, never seen on a Zoom call or anything, and just have never looked back.
Oh, I love that story. Imagine picking up the phone, Mike's ringing you, come and join Profit First Professionals. Who are you? I wrote the book. I love it. So tell me, Kerry, thanks for sharing that. I love it when you tell us that part. I don't know anyone else who is a member that happened with, by the way. I'm sure there may be some in America, but I don't know anyone. So you're the only person I know that's happened with, which is a massive compliment to you, obviously. So tell us about your business. Obviously, your business in Florida, like you've said, and you built it up over there. Tell us about your business up to the point of Mike making that phone call to you.
Yeah, so by that time I'd had my business a couple of years and I was doing just compliance work, cleanups, just all the regular, bookkeeping stuff. And it kept, I guess at that point I probably started to hear about, doing advisory, but it was like, I don't know what that looks like. And, as us accountants and bookkeepers, we're really good at overthinking and overcomplicating and making it, so much more than it is. And so when I heard about Profit First and I went up for the conference and learned so much and just realized this advisory is nothing that I can't do. It's not like I'm having to go learn a whole new skill set. We have all this knowledge and experience that we bring with us that I guess it's really easy to think that we just think that what we know, everybody knows. And we do all our debits and credits and all our bookkeeping stuff and all our reconciliations. And we just think, we can all do it standing on our head in our sleep. But it's something that to other people, it's like a foreign language. I was just talking to a friend last week about expenses and profit and loss and balance sheet. And she's just got that glazed look on her face. And she's like, I don't understand any of this. And so it's just that reminder that, okay, we have all the knowledge and the experience. So when you start thinking about advisory, it's, for me at that time, it was totally overwhelming. But then Profit First just became that pathway into advisory because I didn't know what it looked like. And so now I was given this structure and this tool that I was able to use. And I didn't implement it in my business as much as I wish that I had. Looking back now, again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I wish now that I just jumped in with both feet, but I was still just a solopreneur in my business. And at that time, you're still figuring out how to juggle everything. I think at that time I had a 2-year-old son. So there was a lot of things that you're trying to sort of figure out. But yeah, in hindsight, I wish I jumped in more into profit first and really embraced that in a bigger way in my business. Now I am, but again, it's just kind of, so it's just one of those things where you have to just take the bull by the horns and just run with it. Like, this is kind of a really great pathway into getting into advisory with the confidence and the knowledge that you need to really succeed in that area of your business.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Kerry. And you offer bookkeeping to clients along with profit first strategies. Is that how it works? And how many clients have you got currently?
So we're over 50 clients. I don't know what the number is right now. I think we might even be closer to 60 after this month. We've had a really great April, bringing on 4, potentially 6 new clients this month, all who are doing profit first. I think in the past, it was almost like it was got a confidence aspect of not having that confidence to really include it in everything, and realizing not everybody's heard of profit first. Like, we talk about it because it's just part of our regular day-to-day vocabulary, but not everybody's heard of the book. And so sometimes it would put people off. And so again, I've learned as going through the years, like, okay, don't talk about profit first if they haven't brought it up. Or talk about it in a different way. It's a cash flow management tool. I look at it as a tool in my toolbox. And you can't just talk about profit first without talking about all the other areas of your business, because you're talking about revenue and expenses and cash flow and everything. It encompasses all aspects. So now, rather than just offering, oh, let me do profit first with you, it's just part of my whole cash flow management, my whole advisory package, as to this is part of what we do. But it's something that if people have heard of profit first, that they love it when they're like, yeah, I'm a certified profit first professional. That then gives you a whole nother level of expertise in their eyes. And sometimes, and again, it depends on the call. Sometimes I will say, what have you heard of the book Profit First? Because if I feel like that's the kind of thing they're looking for, but they don't have a name for it, then it makes them feel great when yes, that's what I'm looking for. And other times I would just talk about what it does without bringing up profit first. And then that's something then that I will sort of talk more about, after they've become a client, and then guide them in that way.
I love that, because it kind of takes away the pressure that we put on ourselves to sell, doesn't it? Because we do that. Accountants and bookkeepers, we're not great at selling or what we deem to be selling, when actually with Profit First, it's just a solution to so many problems. And if you ask your prospects what the problems they're facing at the moment, quite often or not, Profit First in one way or another will provide the solution. But we don't necessarily have to talk about it being profit first. We can just talk about how we can improve things and change things, and where we would perhaps focus on initially when we first start working with the client.
Yeah, but it's then what I love about Profit First is that, yes, okay, you're not necessarily using the verbiage, you're not necessarily selling the profit first. I always like to think of the way, how am I serving my clients? And then you end up selling through serving, because how are you helping them to take their business to the next level? For me, with being part of Profit First Professionals, it's all of the support that you get that is what makes the difference. So even though anyone can go buy the book, it's so different when you're part of this. And that's what really helped me have the confidence to then go and to start really implementing it on a whole nother level. In the last 5 years is when I've really jumped in with both feet. But that's because I joined the mastery program in the States for a short time, and now being a part of Profit First over here, it's having that support and being able to ask someone questions and guidance is what makes a big difference. You don't feel like you're on your own in the advisory world, and I think that's how a lot of people may potentially feel, because like, what does an advisory package look like? But it's just something that is there to help and serve. And that's always my focus. How can I serve my clients, to the best of our ability? And Profit First is definitely part of that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting that you mentioned mastery, because that's actually how we met, wasn't it? We were
It
putting
was.
the fortress together.
Yep.
So explain. Do you mind explaining a little bit about what mastery is? Because obviously this is something that's unique at the moment to the US Profit First Professionals membership. But you and me both joined mastery. Can you just share a little bit about what that involves?
Yeah, so I guess it's a step up or a tier up from the core membership. And that's where you get a little bit more access to Mike. You get a different group of guides as well that just work with the Mastery members. And it's there to really sort of, I guess, help you to accelerate and grow your business. You get 2 meetups throughout the year as well, which are just Mastery members. You get additional calls throughout the month. And so it's just kind of more of that hands-on support at a higher level, when you're in that Mastery program.
Yeah, it's really beneficial, I found, actually, for the period that I was in there. And then when myself and Duncan took over the license, I know Duncan carried on within
Mhm.
Mastery, and I kind of dropped out so I could focus on more on this aspect of the business. But it was great because I got to know you quite well from being on those calls, and we had lots of conversations. And then, of course, you're in such a unique position, Kerry. I don't know if you realize this, but from where I'm sitting, you are, because Mike rang you, you joined Profit First Professionals. By your own admission, it took you a little while to get going properly with Profit First, but you got there, and in the last 5 years, you've made massive strides through using Profit First to help your clients and obviously to help you in your business as well. You joined Mastery for a period of time as well. And I know not everybody stays in Mastery forever. It's kind of like, go in, let's join, see how it goes, and then come back out when you've learned what you need to learn. And then you've moved back to the UK, I think you said 2 years ago now.
Mhm.
And since moving back, you've been an active member of our group as well. So you joined our community when you came back to the UK, and you were talking to our other members and stuff, adding your support to our community calls. And then, of course, we've then invited you to become one of our Profit First guides as well. Just recently, probably about 5 months ago, I would say. And so now you're actually helping our members actively on our weekly calls with them. So you've kind of had some real experience throughout the US and now UK as well with how Profit First works. So do you feel that gives you a bit of an added sort of edge on other people as well?
I think it's all the experience of just building it up over the years and not being afraid to try new things. But it's one of those things where you never stop learning. Even now, on our calls that we do, with the Profit First community in the UK, I'm always learning stuff still. And that's the great thing. Like, the book is the book, and it's brilliant, and it's the reason that we're here, that we've all got these connections. But it's not something that is set in stone. It's there that we can change it and adapt it to suit our clients depending on where they are within their business, which I love. Mike has given us like the foundation that we need, and then we can springboard it off. And then with everybody's knowledge and experience, with all the different ideas that come up. I mean, Jason taught me something in the first month of me joining as a guide, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Like, I never thought about doing that. So now I've implemented that into my own business. And it's nice to hear different things. I realize now how different things are in the UK to the US on the whole tax wise and payroll. Payroll drives me crazy over here in the UK. It's a whole lot easier in the US. But it's that's why all my clients are still going to be US based. But it's nice getting different ideas from different sides of the pond, and just being able to, I guess, give back as a guide. I think that's what I really enjoy doing, having been part of Profit First for so long. I did take about a year break, a couple of years break in the middle, but it was always something I knew I wanted to come back to because I knew the value of it. And it's just the community as well. I think it's a very lonely place being an entrepreneur sometimes. And so being able to be part of the community where you've got people to bounce ideas off of, you don't have to worry about anybody judging you. It's just kind of like, hey, I'm stuck on this. Or like, hey, I need to create a package. How do I do this? And I think that's what is one of the biggest things from the Profit First community on both sides, of the pond, as to how that's really helped. But yeah, I love just being able to give back and just seeing other people's ideas, and just being able to learn from one another. I think that's the key there.
I totally agree. I mean, you know, we never know everything, do we? And I think being on these calls with our members, and especially now we've got cohorts, so we have groups of members on the calls, the ideas that they come up with as well, you know, from looking at things from a completely fresh perspective, because it's all new to them, they come up with some great ideas, don't they, that perhaps we've either heard of, we've thought of, we've tried, or we have never even thought of. And I love that, you know. So some of our members on our community calls have come out with some amazing ideas that you just wouldn't get from the book. And it's because they're actively working with clients, they're actively thinking about how they can use extra ideas around Profit First to improve their clients' business and their clients' profitability. And, you know, and the feedback from the clients is amazing. So on that sort of topic, how have your clients grown, you know, with you, and what sort of things do they say to you about how Profit First works with them and their business?
It's the ones that knew about it already. Like, so I have some clients that I received through Profit First in the US, and so they were the ones already looking for that, and they still embrace it. I've got one client in particular. She's a landscaper, and she'll often, you know, we'll look at her balance sheet and she'll be like, Kerry, I've never had so much money in my business. Like, and if she's like, if we didn't do Profit First, then, you know, I would have spent all of this. I'd have bought stuff that I didn't need. And it's so, and she's great because she'll be like, hey, I opened up another bank account. I'm like, great, what are we doing now with this one? And so she sees the importance of it. She sees the relevance. She sees how it really makes a difference in her business and her cash flow management. And that she was able to buy some landscape tools that I guess a friend of hers had won $20,000 worth of tools or something. And he kind of took what he wanted and then he sold her the rest, you know, for a good price. And she said if it wasn't for Profit First, she would have ended up either having to put it on her credit card and then paying interest on it and paying it off over time, not being able to buy them at all and just be like, okay, thanks, but can't afford it. But she was in that position where she's like, Kerry, I had money in my Profit First accounts where I was able to then use that money, pay him, done. Now she's got these tools for a great price. And she puts that down to Profit First. She's like, without it, I wouldn't do that. And just other, you know, clients as well love the Profit First distributions every quarter. They love that they're saving for taxes. They love that they're putting money aside to pay themselves. And, you know, those are the three key ones right there. And I love then talking to my clients after the end of the, you know, each quarter. It's like, so what did you spend your profit bonus on? And hearing those stories. And then sometimes you get the, oh, I didn't take it. Like, why not? Well, I kind of wanted to leave the money in the business. And so then we talk through that and it's to like, okay, what's going on here with this whole thought process? Because there's a reason behind everything. Yeah, they've all seen a benefit. I haven't had anybody that's come to me and be like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not working. Because, you know, and if for some reason someone's struggling, then it's because they're not implementing it correctly. So that's when we're like, okay, what's going on? Let's talk it through. What are you doing? What are you not doing? I've just picked up a new client who was already using Profit First because he's met Mike at events in the past, but he's been doing it just based on, oh, maybe several thousand here, maybe a few thousand here. Oh, need that back, pull it back again. And so there's no structure. So once we get his books clean and up to date, then we're going to start looking at those profit account, the different bank accounts and figure out, okay, what should your percentages be? Let's run another assessment. Let's see what's going on. And let's work based on percentages, not on, oh, I think I've got some extra money in this account. Let me put it over here. And I think that's where the misunderstanding comes in Profit First, that you're just moving money back and forth for the sake of it. And it's just like, no, there's a reason to it. Let's figure out what that is. And so that you're not moving money back into the OPEX account so you can pay the bills. It's like, why can't you pay the bills out of that? So yeah, everybody loves it. They just haven't figured out how to implement it properly in their business because they've tried to do it by themselves. And that's where I love them coming in when they already know Profit First. They're already excited about it, totally stuck. And then we can, like, you know, shed some light on it and then help them move forward.
Yeah, we get a lot of people come to us asking us to introduce them to a PFP because they have tried to implement Profit First themselves and it's not quite worked. And quite often it's because of the very things you've just spoke about, but also it's because they read the book, they see what the target allocation percentages are, and so they assume that that's what they have to transfer into the different pots. You know, so depending on the size of business, they put 5% to profit, they put 50% to owner's pay, 15% to tax and 30% to operating expenses. And then they think they can't run their business on that 30% going into the operating expenses because they're way off that right now in reality. And so then they start transferring back out of the profit, back out of owner's pay. And they've not solved the problem because they still can't pay themselves at the end of the month, unfortunately. And the reason why we working with a profit first professional is so beneficial is because of the initial starting point of the profit assessment, isn't it? You know, what does that, I'm going to let you explain rather than me. What does that tell us? What does a profit assessment tell us about a business right now?
It helps us to understand where are they at right now, like, you know, what's really going on. And, you know, the majority of the time, and I'd probably say 99% of the profit assessments that I've done, nobody's putting money to profit account. Nobody's putting money to tax account. You know, they're paying themselves, you know, as and when they can, and that fluctuates up and down throughout the year. And you know, but it gives us that starting point. And with everything, when you've got a goal and a target that you're aiming towards, you have to know, okay, what line are we at right now? Okay, right now we know where you're at. We know where we want to get you to. What does that journey look like? And that's what I love about the profit assessment. You know, we then create that rollout plan. Like, okay, and I always say to people as well, I'm not going to ask you to put 10% in your profit account right off the bat because you're going to laugh at me and tell me, Kerry, there's no way I can do that. So I always make a little bit of a joke about it as well, because I'm like, look, we're not going in, you know, diving in head first into this. Yes, we all want to get to those target allocations, but it's not going to happen overnight. Now, I've had maybe one business that we were able to do that, but she was a service-based business. It was just her. So it was a lot easier to do. But everybody else, we've done it as a journey, and we've created that normally an 18-month rollout plan and given them step-by-step guidance. But you know, the profit assessment is that first step. The next step is the accountability of like, okay, are you doing that? And you know, people are like, what's the point of doing 1%? And I'm like, well, if it doesn't feel like a big deal, then it won't be a big deal. So let's just do it anyway. And then we can move up a little bit higher. And it's just those baby steps of getting people there. And I've got some people that are still on 1% in their profit account just because of other things they have going on in their business, but they're still doing it. It's a habit that they just do. And it's just something that as business picks up, because they've only been in business a couple of years, they've got a lot of debt, which they needed to take on in order to start the business. But it's like, we're just kind of, you know, walking them through. And I'm like, it's a habit. Like, don't beat yourself up. They were putting money aside for taxes. And, you know, she was like, because I said, when she had a tax bill, I said, how did it go? And she's like, we owed $1,500. I was like, okay, how much did you have in your tax account? She's like, $1,500. I'm like, awesome. She's like, I know. She's like, it was there. And she was so happy. Like, she had a tax bill, but it didn't bother her because she had the money set aside. And that's the key. And I love it when, you know, people come to me and say that, like, you know, because I get excited when people have a tax bill, because people, and it's great, you made some money, you made a profit. And, you know, and it's like, great. Did you have enough money to cover it? Yes. Awesome. Then that's the win. And that motivates them to keep wanting to do that year after year because they see it works. And then they're excited. Like, okay, well, let's increase that. You know, what do I need to do to reduce my expenses? And we go through it and help them. So it's the accountability is the key, because it's really easy to be like, yeah, I'm not going to do that transfer this week. Like, I'm just going to keep this money here. Whereas if you've got somebody helping you and guiding you, they're going to say like, hey, come on, let's do this.
Absolutely. And so talking about making the allocations, which you've started to talk about there and holding people accountable to it, in the book, Mike suggests we should do these allocations on the 10th and 25th of each month. So does that work for you in the US?
No, I totally understand the reasoning behind it. And I think maybe at a time when we were all still printing, you know, checks and mailing out checks and stuffing them in envelopes, that worked really well. I think now we're at a point where, you know, we have ACH and, you know, we've got all these online payment options and portal payments and stuff, that it's just a different ballgame now. You know, the book's over 10 years old. A lot has changed in technology and payments. You only have to look at all the apps that are out there now where you can make those payments. So the 10th and the 25th didn't work for me, because then sometimes it was a Saturday and then it's like, okay, do I want to do a Friday? No, I'll wait till the Monday, and then people will forget. So for me, you know, I think all of my clients, Monday morning, that's what we're doing on a Monday morning, looking back at the previous week. Okay, what happened Monday through Friday? You know, and having that income account is critical. That's one thing I did not do in the beginning. I didn't do my income account. I just kept it in my OPEX because I was disciplined enough to do it. Now I have the income account, and now I really see the value of that. Again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. And so now just having that income account, that now if you can wait till that Monday, then do your allocation percentages from the previous week. I do have one client, money is a little bit tight, so sometimes she's doing it daily, and I'm like, that's fine. But by having that income account, it makes it easier to track exactly what that should be. And again, we just change those around, as and when needed. Right now, I've just changed mine again, where I make sure all of my payroll for my team is done in my first allocation of the month when the majority of our revenue comes in. I then do have weekly revenue coming in, but that now just goes to profit taxes, owner's pay, and OPEX, and isn't going to my payroll account because I fund that right at the very beginning. Again, I've changed the system so that it works for me. And that's just kind of what was the easiest thing for my setup and how I wanted things to run. So I'm not worrying about enough money being in that payroll account. It's there by the second of the month. So it's just, it's making it work for you. If you have to do a daily allocation right now, do it, but have a way of tracking it. If you can do it on the Monday, I think we've got some people that do it on a Friday. It's like, it's what works for you. And that's what I love about the system. It's there, it helps you, it guides you, but you have to make it work for you, because if it doesn't work for you, you're not going to keep doing it.
Yeah, and so you would recommend somebody, if they're doing it weekly, pick a day, pick a time, and stick to it on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's habit. That's what the whole book is on, is about habit forming. And that's why I'm like, Monday morning, it's so easy just to look at that Monday to Friday from the previous week, look at the deposits and make the allocations. To me, and we've got some great resources as well that you plug in a number and it tells you exactly what that amount should be. That's a game changer as well. I use Relay Bank, where I can move money by percentages, which is great. Hopefully some of the banks over here will follow suit down the road. But yeah, it's all about the habit. And we've got several of our new members have been like, oh, it's Friday morning, right? And they get so excited when doing those transfers. And that's what it becomes like. Even now, I just did my transfers yesterday because we were off yesterday and this morning, and I just jumped in and do them. It's just such a great feeling still. And then you go look at all your accounts. I have 20 in my business because every dollar in my business has a purpose. And even now, after all these years, so it's just something about looking at those balances and those different accounts, knowing I have money saved up for for the different things that we need.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that every dollar in your business has a purpose. That's a fantastic statement in itself. What I love about what you're doing, Kerry, is you said the first Monday of the month. So every Monday you do your allocations, but the first Monday of the month you make sure the money goes into your payroll pot. So you're taking away any stress at the thought of making sure your team get paid at the end of the month, aren't you? And you've dealt with that straight away, head on. That's done, dusted. Next week, then it's profit tax, etc., and you worry about all of those allocations then. And I think that's a fantastic way to look at things, because a lot of people hear the terminology profit first, and they see it as greed of the business owner, as opposed to actually what we're trying to say is have clarity on your money, understand where the money is going in your business and into certain areas, and make sure you reward yourself. Because if you don't sort of have a strategy about how to manage the money across each month that you go through, you will get to the end of the month and you will be stressed about paying your team, and you most likely will pay them and not pay yourself. Hence why we talk about profit first. So I love the fact that you do it that way. And that's got to be Kerry's number one tip that's not in the book that you can get, I would say.
I think it's important because it makes me really sad when people think that, oh, I'm being greedy as an owner, with the profit side. And it's like, well, why did you start your business? You started your business to create a better life for yourself. You started it to, improve your standard of living. And you put in all the blood, sweat, tears, sleepless nights, all the stress and everything. So it's like your team expects you to make a profit. And they want you to make money, because if you're not making money, then the business isn't going to survive. It's going to go under and they lose a job. So I do, my profit bonus at the end of each quarter is I take half of what's in my profit account, and then 20% of that goes to my team. And then I keep the other 80%. Now, some people, you can do whatever percentage you like. If you want to do 50-50, you do 50-50. I do 80-20. Because at the end of the day, as the owner, you've put all the risk up. You're the one who's having to keep that business going day to day. Your team, they come in, they do their work, and they go home. Now, I have a team that, are answering, messages, after hours, even though I tell them not to, but it's a team that's committed and love what they do and are passionate and are excited to, see us all succeed as a business. So I think it's important to, yes, it's okay to take the profit out of your business. That's why you started it. That's what's going to keep you going, is being profitable. If you're not profitable and you're plowing your own money into it every month, you're going to end up closing the doors at some point. So it's like, it's not a greed thing. It's the reason you're in business, to make a profit, and it's okay. And yes, you can reward yourself. Yes, you can pay yourself a good salary, because at the end of the day, all the responsibility falls on you. That's where it comes down to. It's on you. You're the one that making the big decisions. You're the one still maybe has sleepless nights now and again. Obviously, being a business owner is not easy every day. So it's like, it's okay. Profit is a good thing. That's what keeps businesses going. Everybody starts making a loss, we got a really big problem to deal with.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I love the fact that you share some of your profit with your team. I mean, that must make them feel so loved by you.
Mm-hmm.
Every quarter they get a little profit bonus. Well, it might not be little, it might be large. I obviously don't know the figures, but they get a bonus. It's a thank you for everything they're doing for you, for the customers and the business, isn't it? What sort of things have they said when you've told them that happens, especially when you're taking on someone new?
They love it. I mean, they're so appreciative, because I recognize that without them, I don't have a business. Like, I can't serve 60 clients by myself. It's a team effort. We've got 3 full-time accountants, a part-time accounts manager, and a part-time office manager. Like, there's a lot of hours that go in every week to our business to keep our clients happy and to provide our service. So to me, it's recognizing that, okay, I'm not just it doesn't feel right to take all the profit for myself. And, everybody likes to do a bonus. I like to do a bonus throughout the year. I know some people that just save it all up and do the bonus at the end. And I'm like, no, I want my team to, have that bonus. We have an offshore team, and they get the bonus too. It's not just, my team in Florida. Our offshore team also get a bonus. And they were also shocked. And I was just like, don't you guys get bonuses? Like, no, we've never had that before. And so it's just about doing something different. And I know that my team, not to blow my own horn or anything, but my team love working with me. Like, they are just so excited. They're telling if I say like, hey, we might having a new client coming on, they're like, okay, fine, don't worry, we got it. Now, they're always all the time. If I start saying, oh, I'm working on this client, like, give it to us, we'll do it. Like, they're so supportive in that. And that's what just makes a huge difference. And that's why I want to reward them by giving them that bonus as my way of just thank you for believing in me, for trusting me, and for just always being there for our clients and wanting to provide the best service. So it motivates them even more. So doing the profit share was never, I never gave it a second thought. It was something I was always going to do.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love that. And like you say, how many accountancy and bookkeeping firms pay their staff a bonus? I don't know the answer to that, so it's a rhetorical question, but it'd be interesting to know. I guess anyone watching this, please put in the comments if that's what you do, because that'd be amazing. But if it's something you want to do, Profit First has a great strategy for doing that, doesn't it? Yep. And it allows you to be able to make that choice without putting a stretch on your finances.
Right. So money's already there.
Yes, exactly. Okay, Kerry. So thank you very much. What? Just tell me one more thing, because you over the last couple of years, you've kind of chosen a niche for your business, haven't you? And I know it's quite a popular topic. A lot of accountants and bookkeepers are quite nervous about niching. So I just wondered if you could share a little bit about that, how that's gone, what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so I was one of those people that did not want to niche. I was like, no, I just can serve everybody. I don't want to sort of narrow this funnel down. And about 2 years, I think it is now, I decided that, okay, I just have to do this. It was making more sense. And we were getting more clients within that industry. So we're niching down on home service businesses in the US. So that's your plumbers, electrical, HVACs, landscape, anybody that kind of goes into your home. And so, it was a big step. We didn't initially do construction. Now we niche down even more into home service businesses. So we're just getting the website redesigned again. But it really does make a difference, just because you get to really know that industry, you know what you're looking for, and then you sound even more of an expert to those clients because you know exactly the kind of issues that they are having. And so I wish I had done it sooner. It's not to say that we don't take clients in other industries. So that's the big thing. It's not a case like we just say no to everybody else. We don't do that. I know some people that do. I personally don't recommend that because you just never know, what's going to be going on in the economy. But it was definitely, it was a leap of faith, but it was definitely something that we've really enjoyed doing and getting to know those industries and those business owners. And I think now we're probably getting close to 20% of our clients now are home service businesses. And I foresee that growing, in the next year because we're about to double down on our marketing and advertising as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And having that many clients in a particular niche helps you look at industry averages, doesn't it? Or compare the type of business with each other and give them some stats on that. I think that's really important.
And the nice thing is with the US being as big as it is, there's different things that you can take from one business to another business and you don't have to worry about them competing. I'm not sharing names or anything. Obviously with, any clients, nobody else knows who we work with, but it's just being able to, things that you learn that you can then share with other people that is not impacting them. So if I've got somebody in, Oklahoma and somebody else in Massachusetts that's in the same industry, I'm just like, well, hey, have you thought about trying this? Have you pivoted doing this in the wintertime or whatever it might be? So your clients end up benefiting more from it. Obviously, if there's any kind of confidential information, then that obviously does not get shared if it's a unique selling point. But, overall, generally, it's just helping everybody. It's kind of, and I've even, I think a couple of times said like, hey, would you guys be willing to talk to my other client? Like, hey, they're on the other side of the country. They're really struggling in this area. Would you mind chatting with them as just how you overcame that? And businesses love being able to help out other businesses. As long as they don't feel there's they're down the street and direct competition, then people will help others and talk to them all day long.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks for sharing about that. I think it's important to highlight that because it's something that a lot of people that I talk to are resistant about doing, but I find it's so much easier to share your message within your marketing if you're talking to a particular industry and a particular type of person if you go down that route as well. So for anyone who may be listening, Kerry, that perhaps wants to move into the advisory space right now, but they don't really know how to and are not quite sure what advisory is, what would you say to them?
I would say to don't keep putting off going into advisory. Technology is advancing all the time. We can't ignore AI. We can't ignore the automations we're seeing in our software. And so I think to stay just on the compliance, it's always going to need some form of human element there, but not necessarily enough that's going to enable you to keep growing. The advisory side is not just something that you need to do for you and your business, but your clients are looking for it as well. And you may not realize that because, people aren't always good at asking for help. But that's the other thing as well. I was just finding that once we started offering this, people didn't want just a P&L and a balance sheet in their inbox each month. They wanted a conversation about it. They wanted my input and my thoughts and my ideas. And that's what advisory is, and it's a lot of time people are like, but I don't have all the answers. And I'm like, neither do I. But I know the questions to ask from the data that I'm seeing to help the client find the answer. And so that's how I see, the coaching side. I'm not here giving answers. That's more of a consultant where you're giving the answers, do this, do that. As a coach, you're guiding and directing. So I'm asking questions. They're thinking things through. I just keep asking questions. Sometimes I'll play devil's advocate because you need someone to just point things out to them a little bit different way. But every time you start doing that, they're like, oh yeah, I can do this. Oh, I can do this. And you just get, the seeds rolling just because of something you have said, just suddenly, set off a light bulb in their mind. And it's really helped them. So it's just, the advisory is critical. Profit first, is a great first stepping stone into that. And that'll end up, being, the doors to get you into the advisory with the confidence and then the support of the community, and us as the guides and you and Duncan as to the leaders of just helping you into that and being there as a support, because that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, thanks, Kerry. I appreciate that. And how can anyone contact you if they want to?
So you've got my Profit First email. You can reach out to me there directly. So if you're thinking about Profit First, maybe you want to jump on and have a conversation with me before you talk to Tim, I'm happy to do that. Or if you just got any questions in general about anything that I've shared, then just reach out to me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kerry. I've really enjoyed having you on. Really appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing all of your worldwide wisdom.
Thank you for having me.
And it's great having you as part of our Profit First team, helping our members as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on our podcast today. Profit First Beyond the Book was brought to you by the Profit First Professionals UK and Ireland team. If you'd like to find out more about Profit First or becoming a Profit First professional, head to our website, profitfirstuk.co.uk.